James O'Keefe returns in a big way, this time with new footage showing a CNN producer admitting on film that the Trump-Russia hysteria is just a ratings hike. While this might not be surprising to most people who watch this video, it is one thing to generally suspect something is bullshit, and it's another to see that that bullshit is exposed before your very eyes. Being familiar with James's work, I am certain that there are more videos like this one to be released in the future. I would imagine this is going to come out much like the Acorn videos did, and this time he's exposing CNN.
And he goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
The CEO?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So even the climate accords, he was like, okay, a day or so, but we're moving back to Russia.
Some of you may be asking what Acorn is, or what it was, rather. Acorn was a community organization in the mold of Alinsky that James O'Keefe and Hannah Giles investigated undercover. They went in as a pimp-ho couple, and at multiple locations across the country were able to get help from Acorn employees to use taxpayer money to set up underage brothels with young women imported from El Salvador. Underage little girls, actually. No shit. Go watch it for yourselves. It's mind-blowing. These people knew what they were doing and are seemingly well-trained at using tax loopholes for nefarious purposes. James stated many times how young the girls were and where they were coming from, and the employees didn't bat an eye. In fact, they helped them find additional sources of tax credits. I have to reiterate, James and Hannah went to multiple Acorn offices across the country and used these organizations to help them use taxpayer money to help them set up a human trafficking underage brothel. Let that sink in. Another thing to consider, if you go to Wikipedia to read up on this, they attempt to do damage control, so to speak, and dismiss the evidence. You should go watch the videos for yourself for full effect. Most news organizations use the common tactic of refuting an irrelevant detail in order to dismiss the entire thing. Seriously, read this. Giles and O'Keefe have been criticized for accuracy problems. Their videos include the oft-repeated conservative claim that Acorn is expected to get up to $8.5 billion in government funds. But that's a bold exaggeration, as it includes $3 billion in stimulus funds set aside for revitalization efforts nationwide and $5.5 billion in federal community development grants. Yeah, as if that dismisses the whole thing. And then from the apologetic Wikipedia, in the San Bernardino office, Acorn employee Teresa Kaelke told O'Keefe and Giles they could classify the underage brothel as a group home to avoid detection. She suggested that the pair invest in a line of vitamins to disguise the location's true purpose. With the help of Andrew Breitbart, a man who knew how the media worked, they released the tapes one at a time, forcing public statements out of government officials and Acorn representatives that would later be proven a lie with the next video drop. What they did was legendary, and considering the mastery level of journalism involved, the mainstream media remained silent, and this in itself causes me to question their own legitimacy. And they were even resistant to break such a massive story like this. Andrew's goal was always to expose the media for what they were, and even though he's gone, his fight continues. James O'Keefe tweeted this picture of them during the Acorn era with the note, "This one's for you, Andrew." James looks a lot like Michael Cera's character from Arrested Development, George Michael, in this picture. With this in mind, I believe James O'Keefe is taking on CNN, or possibly the entire mainstream media. Either way, this video is to inform as many people as I can to keep an eye out for Project Veritas' new releases. These videos are going to change the entire game. And here's a short clip from the larger video that just came out yesterday, but I would expect more videos to come out, and if you're interested after seeing this small clip, I would heavily encourage you, yet again, to go check out the full video.
They'd leak it. It'd leak. If it was something really good, it would leak. I just feel like they don't really have it, but they want to keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the president is probably right to say, like, look, you are witch hunting me. Like, you have no smoking gun, you have no real proof.
This might seem like a small strand to pull at, just debunking the Trump-Russia thing, but I do believe this will unravel a very large story. And I'm going to be here for the whole thing, so I will attempt to keep you updated as much as I can. And that'll be it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. I might do a more in-depth look at the Acorn situation. That's a video that'll take a couple hours of editing all of the stuff together, so if you're really interested, I could do that. I'm not sure how much priority I will put on it, but there's that to consider. So let me know what you think, and I will see you all later.
And that is who's in the White House, and that's who's outside right now telling you you don't have a right to be here, and who would squelch your free speech just as easily they do at Harvard, Vassar, Yale, Wesleyan. They're a bunch of totalitarian freaks. The anti-war movement was never about anti-war. It was a Saul Alinsky community organizing tool to get Barack Obama and the left elected. That the Republican Party and the conservative movement is not what ABC and CBS puts on the screen. They try to portray you in the worst possible light. And when I walk through CPAC, or I travel the United States to meet people in the Tea Party who care, black, white, gay, and straight, anyone that's willing to stand next to me to fight the progressive left, I will be in that bunker. And if you're not in
this. All right. Segment 4, the theory, of which you have more in this book than I'd expected. Righteous indignation. A lot gets explained here. Marx and Hegel had paved the way for the progressives, who in turn had paved the way for the Frankfurt School, who had then attacked the American way of life by pushing cultural Marxism through critical theory. There's a lot going on there. Very briefly, what's the Frankfurt School, and why should anyone watching this interview care?
Okay, first of all, anyone that reads this book is going to laugh, and they're going to cry, and they're going to get Andrew in all of his zany different multiple layers. But there's one chapter that is like putting the medicine in the sherbet in order to get your kid to take it, in order to get rid of his fever. And to me, my one discovery, my one great epiphany, my one aha moment that I said, I got it. I see what exactly happened with in this country. The Frankfurt School were emigres from
Germany, Austria.
Germany. It was the equivalent of this, the Hoover Institution. What the Hoover Institution is to Stanford University. The Frankfurt School was a think tank at the University of Frankfurt, and they were social scientists like Herbert Marcuse, Antonio Gramsci, Horkheimer, Adorno. These were all a bunch of guys in the middle of World War II who had suffered in Europe, 2 world wars in a row, and they had been fighting. They had been fighting the Nazis, and they were trying to figure out another aspect of how to how to spread Marxism around the world. You could go to Bolivia, you could go to Bulgaria, and you could go to the peasant class, and you could say, let's flip this place. The Marxist-Stallman argument of getting the workers to get upset at the owners was very easy, but not in America, where the middle class was invested in their productivity, invested in the concept that they could have their own small little American dream, a white picket fence, that they could invent something and go from one generation being dirt poor to being an owner within a very quick period of time. And what these guys figured out when they came to the United States, and Adorno is the one that drives me the most crazy. He came out to California, and I think it was Bertolt Brecht, the East German playwright, moved to Santa Monica in the 1940s at the height of the Golden Age. Think about this. These guys left Nazi Germany and Mussolini's Italy to come to California in the 1940s, and they lived by the beach, and they were depressed by the relentless cheeriness, the productivity, and the capitalism that they witnessed around them. And they came up with at the end of the day, we could call it cultural Marxism, but at the end of the day, we experience it on a day-to-day basis. And by that I mean a minute-by-minute, second-by-second basis. It's political correctness and it's multiculturalism. And what it took was this amazing concept of e pluribus unum, where everybody comes here and contributes to this, everybody becomes an American and contributes, but we have a common culture, we have a common border, a common mindset. What they did was take the haves versus have-nots friction and translated it into oppressor versus the oppressed. And
this got taken up by faculties across the country.
That's
the point of the Frankfurt School and the progressivism.
They
it becomes embraced by 60s
post-structuralism,
academics.
Post-structuralism, queer studies, African American studies. All of that is pitting people against each other. It is anti-American to its core.
If Marcuse was I'm quoting again from Righteous Indignation, if Marcuse was the Jesus of the New Left, then Saul Alinsky was his St. Paul. Again, let me just put it to you in simple terms. Who's Saul Alinsky, and why should anyone watching this interview care?
Well, Hillary Clinton wrote her senior thesis on Saul Alinsky at Wellesley. Barack Obama is an acolyte of Saul Alinsky. He created the concept of community organizing, and what he did, as I argue in this book, is he took all of this ethereal claptrap, this Noam Chomsky-like jargon that the average person couldn't understand.
Herbert Marcuse is very hard to read.
Right, it's all impossible to read. But he was able to translate this cultural Marxist down to a series of rules and a mindset, a warrior mindset, where the critical theory was like, take on your enemy, take him directly on, destroy that person. He applied critical theory down to the street war level, and I would argue that the Katie Courics of the world, the Chris Matthews of the world, Rachel Maddow, and Keith Olbermann, unbeknownst even to themselves, are studied in the tactics of Alinsky.